Hi, I'm Allison Massey, registered dietitian and certified diabetes care and education specialist. And today I'm going to show you how to put together a simple and nutritious, delicious side dish, citrus braised kale. And it's from one of my favorite cookbooks, the With or Without Meat cookbook by Jackie Nugent. The great thing about this recipe is that it is using one of those superfoods, kale, which is a great source of vitamin A and C, and you can put this together in 10 minutes. So what you need is 1 pound of kale. So they typically sell that in the big jumbo bags. And we're going to braise it today. So it doesn't require a lot of fat. So you can either use whatever you have on hand. I'm using 1 teaspoon of olive oil. The recipe also suggests if you didn't have any olive oil, you could use like a teaspoon of butter, but I'm using olive oil, a little bit heart healthier. So braising is a method of cooking where we're just gonna kind of lightly cook it, and then you need a lid to put on top of your pot, and then it's just gonna kind of stew and steam. But this is a beautifully easy recipe. So you're really gonna start out with just heating up your oil or your butter, whatever you're using. And usually I suggest tongs, so I have kind of a deep pot here. So just kind of get the heat going, and you're gonna wanna cook your kale for roughly, it depends on your stove obviously, but for roughly about 5 minutes until it starts to wilt. And as those greens start to wilt in your pan, you're going to add and collect some of your other ingredients that we're going to use for this recipe. So this is a citrus based recipe. So you're going to need a little bit of orange juice. You just need about 1/4 cup. So I happen to have this orange juice on hand, but if you had fresh oranges, you probably could squeeze those and get 1/4 cup out. And you do need at least 1 fresh orange, because we are going to use the outer rind and use about a teaspoon of fresh orange zest, which adds a ton of flavor to the greens. We're gonna kick up the heat and balance that sweetness out with a little bit of black pepper and red pepper flakes. Now this recipe does call for a tiny bit of salt. You could leave this out if you are watching your sodium intake for blood pressure reasons. It's not necessarily a requirement. So I'm just gonna kind of keep tossing my greens and move some of the wilted greens that are on the bottom up to the top. And you're gonna wanna just kind of make sure you're checking in on it, because again, there's no liquid in here at this point. So we wanna make sure that nothing is burning on the bottom of your pot. So you don't wanna kind of walk away from this. But again, you can put this together fairly simply. So this is starting to cook down very, very nicely. And this kind of citrus recipe would work really well in one of those like egg and green and grain bowls that I like to put together, and you will see that recipe in one of my other videos that is linked on the YouTube channel, so you can check that out. But this would be really nice kind of paired with that. So I am just continuing to toss this and move things around, and I think I'm about ready to add my other ingredients. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and add the orange juice, the zest, and the pepper. So first things first, we're gonna get a little bit of the orange juice in. And this kind of brightness just really kind of takes off some of the edge. Kale can be a little bit bitter, and so the orange juice and the orange zest kind of just add that sweetness and reduce that kind of bitter flavor quite a bit. So I'm just gonna toss this just a little bit more. I've got that orange juice in here now. And then I'm going to add my zest, a little bit of salt, pepper, and red chili flakes. So next up, we are going to zest a little bit of this. I'm not gonna measure it exactly, it is a teaspoon. A zester is one of those great kitchen tools to invest in. And especially if you're trying to eat for heart health and make kind of some simple recipes at home without adding a lot of additional fat, citrus is the way to do that. And kind of using a zester and getting that rind off the very outside adds a ton of flavor. And just when you're zesting, it's good to know you don't want to kind of get that white part of your citrus. So you're just doing the very outer skin, and that's adding that nice kind of brightness. So I'm gonna toss my zest in here and kind of get that going. And this is cooking down really nicely. And then I'm gonna throw in the other ingredients. So we're just gonna use about a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper. So we'll add that in here. I'm gonna add a quarter teaspoon of salt, so that you could, again, leave this out. You could also reduce it and just use 1/8 of a teaspoon. A full teaspoon of sodium is your kind of total daily for the day. So remember, this is multiple servings in what I'm making here. So I am sharing this with others, but you could leave that out. It's not a requirement. And then last but not least, I am going to add a few red chili pepper flakes. So I'm just gonna kind of just put a couple in here. You could add more if you like a lot of heat, but this is kind of what we've got going on right now. So you can see the greens really wilted down nicely. I'm gonna keep this on low, put the lid on, and then just let that cook for 5 minutes while I'm getting other things ready for dinner. So that is citrus braised kale. Super simple, super delicious, and a great way to get some extra vitamin A and vitamin C in your diet. I hope you try the recipe. Please leave comments under the video below if you end up trying the recipe, and let me know how you like to prepare your greens at home. Until next time, this is Allison, registered dietitian. Thanks.